Ever walked through a market and noticed how cheap a bag of fresh passion fruits is? Maybe just 500 shillings? But then, when you go to a supermarket, a beautifully packaged bottle of passion fruit juice costs 4 times as much. That price difference isn't magic. Take a look at this chart. If you take that raw fruit, squeeze it, add some water and sugar, and seal it in a branded bottle, you've completely transformed it. You've made it last longer and look much more appealing. Economists call this process value addition. By putting in a little effort to change a raw material into a finished product, you increase its worth and you earn a higher profit. Now imagine taking that same kitchen process and scaling it up. Instead of a single person with a knife and a jug, you have massive machines producing thousands of bottles an hour and hundreds of workers. That is exactly what a manufacturing industry does. Manufacturing is simply value addition done on a massive scale. For any country, turning raw natural materials into finished goods is the most reliable way to create jobs and build a wealthy economy. Historically, East Africa fell into a difficult economic trap. For decades, the region exported raw, unprocessed materials, like massive shipments of raw cotton, to buyers overseas. Because the cotton was unfinished, it sold for very little money. The painful irony is that European factories would take that cheap cotton, spin it into thread, sew it into clothes, and then sell those finished items back to East Africa. People would pay highly inflated prices to buy back the finished shirts made from their own crops. To break this cycle, governments are stepping in. In Uganda, the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy was created to encourage making and buying goods locally rather than importing them. Relying on overseas factories means sending your country's wealth abroad. Processing materials in your own factories keeps that money circulating locally, paying local wages and supporting local families. A fully functioning economy requires a layered ecosystem made up of 3 very different types of manufacturing industries, all working together. The first step belongs to processing industries. Look at this facility. These factories take freshly harvested agricultural products, or mined minerals, and handle the vital first step of cleaning and preparing them, like hulling raw coffee beans for the next stage. Next, we have consumer goods industries. These factories create the finished everyday items you buy, like a bar of soap, a loaf of bread, or a bag of sugar. You are buying a consumer good. Finally, there are producer goods industries. You rarely buy their products directly. These heavy industrial factories produce materials like cement, steel bars, and machinery, the raw building blocks that other businesses require to operate. All 3 tiers rely entirely on each other. Without the heavy producer goods like cement and steel, you could never build the consumer and processing factories in the first place. Have you ever wondered why factories don't just pop up everywhere? Instead, they tend to cluster in very specific towns, like Jinja. Building an industrial hub requires a precise combination of geography and infrastructure. The single biggest requirement is a massive, uninterrupted power supply. Heavy machinery needs serious electricity to run. Notice the sheer volume of water rushing through this dam. Jinja became an industrial powerhouse because the nearby Owen Falls Dam provided reliable hydroelectric power. The second requirement is a way to move things. Factories need heavy transport networks like railways and wide roads to bring in bulk raw materials and ship the finished products out to large markets. Third, industries need to be close to their raw materials, especially if those materials are heavy or spoil quickly. A sugar factory, for example, must be built right next to vast sugarcane plantations because cut cane degrades rapidly. An industrial hub is never an accident. It only forms in a highly specific location where abundant power, strong transport links, and raw materials all perfectly align. But massive industrial engines also produce inevitable waste. When factories burn fuel or process chemicals, they release heavy smoke and toxic gases, polluting the air local communities breathe. The threat extends to the water, too. Without strict regulations, some factories dump untreated chemical waste directly into surrounding wetlands, poisoning fish and threatening crucial ecosystems like Lake Victoria. There is also a human cost. The promise of stable factory jobs pulls young people away from rural villages and into cities. This rapid migration causes severe overcrowding, leading to poorly planned settlements where housing is tight and clean sanitation is hard to find. Factories generate immense wealth, but if they operate without care, they exact a heavy toll on the land and the people living nearby. The modern challenge for East Africa is finding a balance, growing the industrial engine to lift people out of poverty, while carefully protecting the lakes, air, and soil that sustain life. Every time you choose to buy a locally made product over a cheap import, you're casting a vote for that balance. You are supporting local job creation and helping keep wealth inside your community. Manufacturing takes the natural potential of a country and turns it into tangible wealth. By adding value to the things we grow and mine, everyday consumption transforms into the tool used to build a stronger nation.